Hi everyone, welcome to L&M Guitar Corner. This is Martin, I'm Lukas, and today I'm checking out Martin's Greco. Martin had this guitar for about a year, roughly
about a year, yes.
And it is a 1968?
Yeah, at least the one who sold it to me claimed it was a 68. So
Okay, so
mid to late 60s, those guitars were produced.
a real vintage guitar, and it is made in Japan. And yeah, it's a Greco. Do you know
EG-135?
EG-135. Is Greco still around, or did they?
Yes.
They are still producing guitars. That's cool. So, quick look at it. 2 single coils. Gibson scale length, so 24.75 inch. It has 21 frets. Narrow tall, right?
Narrow tall. I did a refret just a little more than a week ago on this guitar. Originally, when I got it, it had extremely low frets. We have a video of when I got it also on this channel.
Yep.
And back then already I thought, do I need a refret on this guitar? Should I have it? Should I not? Because it did not play that bad, but the action was still really high.
Did it have dead spots back then?
No, as far as I can remember, there were not dead spots on it, but yeah, the action had to be higher. A few frets that were buzzing. The main problem with the guitar was that it had quite a bow in it, and also the frets had a bow in it. So the
From playing?
playing,
Okay,
yeah. So
Down.
the frets down here were higher than the ones in the middle, and also the ones up here were again a little bit higher than the ones in the middle. So you had essentially the relief also in the frets.
Okay.
There was also a little bit an issue on the truss rod, because the truss rod was almost maxed out, so I could not get it out, at least with the relief that I had in the frets. So. I took the frets out, put more relief into the neck, so I get more from the truss rod again. Leveled then the fretboard, made the slots then deeper again for the frets, and placed new frets in there. And now I have a little bit more again with the truss rod.
And to me, it is playable now. It plays nicely, because back when Martin originally got it and brought it first over and I played it, I was really struggling with the guitar because of the high action. I was just not used to it. But now it plays really well. And
Thanks, yeah.
It's a lot of fun. So the neck is, did you count
4
it?
pieces.
4 pieces of mahogany glued together.
Yep.
We have vintage tuners up here.
Those are the original ones.
They hold tune well, so no real issues there.
Yeah, but after tightening everything, now the tuners are rather stiff to turn. They might have been bent a little bit over the years when they were loose, so with the tension on it. And now it's not that smooth of an operation, but the tuning stability is completely fine on those.
So once it's tuned correctly, it holds tune and no issues with the nut. I didn't notice anything. The pickups work fine. They are a little bit microphonic, and
a little bit. They are quite microphonic,
when
especially the neck. The neck pickup is really microphonic.
And what is interesting to me is the way you select the pickup because you have mic 1 here. So if this one is on, it's obviously the neck, and this one is the bridge. So both on is both on, both activated at the same time. This way it's just the bridge. This way both off.
I've seen also EG-135s with another plate on it where there's a toggle switch. So either people
regular 3-way.
Three-way toggle switch.
Okay.
Either people changed this or a later model came with a 3-way toggle switch over here instead of those. Yeah.
I mean, this works fine and it looks cool, but it threw me off a little bit while playing because I'm just not used to it. The tremolo feels nice. It's not for extreme movements. So the wiggle stick over here,
it's a Bigsby style.
It's big Bigsby style, but it's really nice to use it. You tightened that one as well because this was rather loose. And now if you want to access the controls, you just move it out of the way.
Yeah.
Then you can access it this way. Because otherwise, if it's up here, when you use it, you cannot really get to these
I've used
controls
a drop of super glue on the windings of that screw that holds the lever in place. Because originally, if you tighten this and you move it, the screw was always unscrewing itself and it got loose. So I was bothered by that, and I've used just a drop of super glue and fixed this. Also, originally, the whole system was not mounted properly, originally from the factory. Yeah. So it was slightly offset, and then you had an angle coming to the bridge.
Ah, right. It's like a centimeter, a couple of millimeters.
Couple of millimeters
this
off,
way.
And I've removed it and screwed it back in the proper position, which helped a lot with the tuning stability, as you can imagine.
Yep.
The bridge itself is completely floating. It's not fixed to the top. I've put some double-sided tape underneath it to get it in place. It does not hold the bridge anymore, but it gives me the position where I have to place it, so I don't have to adjust everything completely newly after a restring. So.
I'm not sure if you mentioned it, but it's a full hollow guitar.
Yeah,
Did we cover that? So it's not a semi-hollow. There's no wooden block inside, and it is super light. You said around
2.8 kilograms. 2.8. That's what they are about. What I found on
maximum,
the internet.
would say.
I didn't weigh it, so
maximum.
I have no idea what this actually weighs, but should be around this.
When Martin brought it over, there was a guitar strap attached to it, which I removed because it was
adjusted from my
adjusted
size.
for his height and all. But it balanced rather nicely. If you put it on the leg,
it's not that it has neck dive, but it's also not going in the other direction. It always balance. Maybe it's also about the shape of the body. It balances itself always out really level.
Because at first, because the neck, it's not super chunky, but it's not...
It is chunky.
It is rather chunky. Okay, yeah, you're right.
It's not too far off from the Bachatelli, and that's chunky. That's a chunky neck.
I don't have that on the guitar anymore, but you're right. It is. I think it gets even chunkier up the neck, and here it's quite blocky. So the handshake, as Phil McKnight calls it, is not all that pleasant in my opinion. But it's not supposed to be like a shredder type guitar where you access all the high frets, in my opinion.
This guitar also has a few issues with the high frets.
You want to demonstrate?
Yeah, well, it's not that much. It does not have to be that much of an issue. the problem is the pickups are extremely low output. So I have raised them quite a bit. And the fretboard over here goes down. Even with leveling, I couldn't level it this much that the fretboard would have not gone down on this part over here. Especially on the lower
3 strings? Or?
3 strings, yeah. The higher ones are not that bad. So yeah, there's no problem with this. Also, the frets are not moving this much as with the lower frets, obviously, with the lower strings, obviously.
Yeah.
So that's not that much of an issue. But
up.
Now, if I press it over here, the string itself touches the pickup.
So it's rattling against the neck pickup.
Rattling against the neck pickup. So you're probably good to go depending on how hard you pick up until the 18th fret, something like this.
17, 18, yeah. Then it starts. When you're touching lightly, it still works.
If you touch lightly and play softly. And that's the next thing. I'm not gonna rock out on this guitar pretty much. So for me, this is not really an issue.
No. It is. It has relatively low output single coil. They have a nice clear tone, but it's not a rock or distortion metal machine.
No.
Or whatever. And you mainly use it as a ambient
clean
guitar.
For me, it's where it shines is with these low output pickups. When it's clean, when there are a lot of effects. I've been enjoying recently a lot of effects on the spark with this guitar, so more in the ambient sounds style where I put a phaser or a chorus and whatever on it, lots of reverb, lots of delay with it, shimmer, reverb.
But that's really unusual for you. That sounds like something you only do with this guitar.
Yeah, that is something I only do with this guitar because it just lends itself to it. Also with that Bigsby style trem arm over there.
Yeah.
Just get slow on it. Maybe with the fingers. And it stays in tune fairly well.
Yeah, it's cool. It's obviously also quite loud, unplugged, because it's a full hollow.
So yeah.
No surprise there.
The refret on this guitar was quite an issue because the frets were worn down a lot. I even did a slight level before to improve the playability of the guitar when I got it from last time, but I knew I had to go at it once more with really new frets, and then when I had to remove the frets, even with the proper tools, I have the StewMac tools for the refret, I was not able to properly grab those frets, get them out. They were this thin that they were bending up at some parts.
Soft already. As well, soft material.
It was a nickel silver fret, just regular fret material, but it was that thin already that when I grabbed it, that it was just bending over and I could not really grab it properly. So what I did was I used the soldering iron, of course, to remove the glue,
heat the
fret up, remove the glue underneath it, like this. You can see this at some spots where I made it this hot that even the binding got a few dents in it as well. So yeah,
to be honest, if you don't mention it, you wouldn't recognize it because it has cracks and gaps and stuff. I mean, up here you can feel it with your fingernail. It's an old guitar. It's a vintage. It has been played. It has wear. It's naturally relict.
It's not something that you would really notice on it. So
if you don't mention that
you would probably assume it's just due to the age because the whole guitar has such dings and dongs on it.
And not that it happened during a refret you made 3 weeks ago or whatever.
Yeah, right. But still, I had to use a very thin knife afterwards to get underneath on the whole length, and then I could just on both sides I could just lift it up that little bit to get a better grip with the proper pliers on it, and then pull it out. So that was my technique, and you can probably see it. The more we get up the frets, I started with the frets down here. The more I get up, the better it gets.
It's a little bit squiggly here.
With
the binding
as well, and the further I get up, the better it gets, because the more I got used to it.
Better technique.
And I also figured out how I could do it, because once the frets are not holding up in your pliers, your first reaction is, what am I going to do now?
So what's next?
So what's next? How do I get them out?
Right.
And I had to cut the slots new after sanding down the fretboard, and it worked out.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it was a great decision to do the refret, because now it is really playable, in my opinion. Yeah. As I said before, in the beginning when you got it, it was a bit tough to play. How much did you pay again? I can't remember.
I can't remember either. So
was it like a couple of $100?
250 euros.
250, 300 euros max.
Yeah,
something like that.
Max, like this.
So for all of you out there that are looking for vintage Japanese guitars, they can be a pretty great deal.
Yeah, I think I've seen one sold for 150 euros when I was googling through it. So They're
that was
they're not that thought after.
no, not really. And you wanted this guitar because you wanted to have like a quirky, special, almost unique guitar you don't get every day, with all the specs and the way it looks and also the way it sounds. To me, it doesn't sound like a Fender single coil. It doesn't sound like a P90. It doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't sound like an Ibanez single coil or whatever.
Also not like your typical jazz box.
Absolutely not. It's the sound is too bright, too transparent, too clear for a jazz box.
Yeah.
So it's not really ideal for that. It's just unique in terms of tone. And when you look at your other guitars and my guitar collection as well, there's nothing it doesn't sound like anything else, which is cool to have something like this.
And that's also something even my wife mentioned when I got this guitar. When I got it, she said, when I played it, she said, well, okay, this one can stay because I get it. This one sounds so different than anything else you're having. So
overall, I think the condition or the wear and tear and all the signs of use, it's not that bad. It's not like totally beaten up.
no.
The condition is fairly good.
Yeah, it's
all in
just
all.
those
Just-
tiny bits and bobs that you have every day.
like the gaps here a
Gaps
little
on
bit,
the
here's a
binding
little bit
somewhere.
of gap, but nothing that impacts playability, and it works. So the electronics, did you do anything to those, or were they working right from the get-go?
They were a little bit crackly. One or two parts are still a little bit crackly, but I didn't do anything
Okay,
on
so
this.
it's still the original electronics.
It's still the original electronics. I think I resoldered the neck pickup.
That one was loose.
I think
cable.
that one that had a loose cable.
That might be that there was one loose cable.
But it's been quite some time.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a cool guitar, and
It's really quirky and thinks of the specs because it's a Gibson scale length.
yes.
And it has a 9.5 inch radius, like Fender, for example. Then
And two single coils, more
Two single-
like a Fender, or it's more Fender guitars.
Then it's thinner than 335
Bigsby.
a little bit. It has the Bigsby on it.
The controls.
Controls are somewhat.
And it's a bolt on.
It's a bolt-on neck. As
Not
well.
not a set neck.
That was also a reason for me to get this guitar, because in the worst case, if the neck is not repairable anymore, you can just throw it away, place a tele neck on it, and be happy with it, because the scale length is easily adjusted
With this.
with the bridge, because the bridge is not mounted anywhere on the top. You just
put this here.
place it further down and you're good to go. So there's really no reason why you couldn't get this thing playable in some shape or form. Yeah.
Yeah. So Martin, thanks a lot for letting me review this guitar. Very cool instrument. I'm glad you have it in your collection, so I get to play it.
Yeah.
So that's a cool benefit.
If you want to try something different,
Definitely.
get it anytime.
That's cool. Thanks a lot. For you viewers out there, if you have any questions about this guitar, or maybe you have your own experience with vintage guitars from Japan or from some other place, leave us a comment down below. And with that, see you in another video. Bye bye.
Bye bye.